Okay, today from the Id of Ed, I thought I'd go over my latest calculator acquisition. Here I have the previous guys have been kind of working on the CST-8 on the left and the 1921 Model K Monroe calculator on the right. And what I have now is a LA5 calculator I just got recently at a antique shop for 20 bucks. But not only that, for just double the price, I got two calculators for $20 a piece. So LA5 slightly shorter keypad arrangement and a slightly longer carriage, longer, wider keypad. So and these guys look fairly promising, especially the one on the right. His keys actually work, and the carriage, you can clear both the upper and lower registers. Everything else isn't working too well, but this guy on the other hand, he's missing some keys, and the keyboard's jammed, and I think one of the registers, well, I guess I did get both registers to clear, but he might take a little bit more work. He's missing, like I say, some keycaps, including the clearing button, but not too bad for $20 a piece for, just happen to be going in there. And so anyhow, I think I'll probably work on this one later. I kind of figured he was going to be the parts machine, but it's promising enough that he might be just fine. And so I think today what I'm going to do is see if I can have a relatively easy victory with this little guy. And it's just amazing. This was made in the something like the mid-30s, and it obviously L is a follow-up of K, I presume. And K is such an enormous, heavy, clunky thing, as you've seen in previous videos. And it's quite a shrink down for this little guy. And what's interesting is how much they kind of grew it back up a little bit for this guy. Not sure why. It'd be interesting to know the history of that. But this is remarkably miniaturized, and I'm hopeful that I might be able to make it work. It is electrically powered, and the cord that originally came with it is definitely kind of past its prime, so I'll have to come up with something for that. And then big thing is open it up and have a look. And what's nice also with this guy is I actually have the instruction manual on how to work on the thing, unlike the other guys, which I haven't really had much. I actually have, I believe it's book 2 of the series of 6 Monroe calculator books, that maintenance books that were, at least I know that were published, of which 4 of which are on archive.org. So hopefully with luck this one will actually go. And originally I was looking at that manual, as a matter of fact. I originally thought that would help me a lot on this guy, and it turns out a lot of the parts are different by the time it gets to this guy. And I hadn't visualized just how much things had shrunk. So it'll be interesting to see how things have shrunk and how much they've managed to stuff so much in there. So without further ado, I think I'll play around with this guy and see what we can do with it. I think the first thing I'm going to do is, the keys all work. I can clear them. I can clear them individually. So from that standpoint, it looks kind of promising. Repeat key works. These guys seem to work pretty well. I think at least there's only this one guy moving me. He didn't get him to move. Anyways, so open up this back case and have a look-see inside and see what's going on in there. I'm hoping that maybe this will just require simple lubrication, cleaning and lubrication. The other two machines I just showed, the K and the CST-8, come from environments that were really pretty awful. Whereas this is a really nice, clean calculator. So I'm hoping that with luck, this one will be just a fun little quick project here, and I'll have something a little more rewarding for a change and not quite such a long grind. grinding project. I'm just looking on the interior of it. I don't see anything to be particularly concerned about bringing in the house. I always worry about these things, you know, where have these things been hiding? And just looking at the inside of this guy, you can't see a whole lot. It really is tight in there. So I'll probably have to take the other cases off and see how this goes. It's interesting, it's definitely a hybrid between this CST8, you can definitely see the carry mechanism much more readily than the CST8, but it's definitely miniaturized quite a bit compared to the other guy. So let's see here. I'm hoping that its carriage comes off just as easily, and I bet it will. Probably on this side, from the looks of it. Same thing like the other one. Maybe. It might take a screwdriver on each side, looks like. Let's see here. On the side, on the side. Somebody came loose anyway. Here's one of those things too, maybe I will put on the gloves. Okay, so let's see if this guy will come out. So this guy's coming right out, just kind of like the big guys. Let's see here, I'm going to look inside and see if they got the same sort of springs. Okay, so we have, looks to be a slightly longer spring on the left here and a shorter spring on the right of this stationary element. I think that's it. It's one of those you got to observe these things via pull. Okay, that came out graceful enough. And that looks really, it's so miniaturized, it's so nice too. And I think these guys, I assume they'll come out. Yeah, it looks like they're stationary in there. They're staying put. Interesting. And it looks like this flipper is very similar to the K, so that's got to come out. I'll use my expensive fancy screwdriver for that. Looks like I might need a narrower blade. Actually, I might be able to get it just this guy. Yeah, he came out. Okay. And before I get too much further, I better get a bin for these guys. And this one has a spring that comes with it. Interesting. So I gotta remember that spring. So I think I'll go dig up a little bin to put my parts in. Okay, always a good thing to keep your parts organized. I got too many projects if you haven't already concluded, and you know, you throw things off one side and the next pile of stuff, and it's a problem. So this guy's looks like it's one single case that comes off. It looks like it wraps around three sides. So hopefully these are the same screws, but before I go too much further I want to confirm they are the same so I don't have a problem in the future here. So far appear to be identical. Pretty darn identical to me. Yeah. Good. Once again, these screws come out nice. I'm not sure why these calculator guys come apart so agreeably, but I guess I shouldn't complain, huh? So far, everyone looks to be identical. Okay, what's it look like under here? And this guy has an optional hand crank, and it's just like a miniature version of the other guy. He got the little little release mechanism that you can release from underneath. lubrication sign. I think you push it down here. Can't quite get in there with my finger, and he comes right out. That'll make the case a little easier to come off, I think. I think he'll just come right out with just a minor little tweak here. And there we go. So, simple case design. It looks pretty decent in there. And then what do we have inside but, you know, a little bit of debris, not too bad. It's been kept in a fairly decent environment. It looks pretty good, not much rust. The wire. A bit stiff. And looks like it might be fraying on that end there. Hope it's not grinding on that frame. Looks like it's isolated at the moment. Could use a little bit of cleaning, but not too bad really. So far it's pretty nice. I see some red electrical tape. The wires are stiff. And the switch looks a lot like what's in the Monroe CST8, same sort of a really simple open frame thing, but at least I can get at the switch easier. This bumper, as they call it a bumper, it looks like it has a piece of leather. It looks like it really is maybe meant to be bumped into. There's actually still some oil on the planetary. It looks like it isn't completely dried out anyways. Otherwise, just some dust, and it's not too bad looking, so I think probably be prudent before I try and apply power to take the lower cover off and have a look-see at it. The other thing that's kind of fun is the last time this guy appeared to have been serviced or sold was in, 1965, and in Grand Junction, which is where I bought this guy. Antique shop there in Grand Junction, Colorado. So, let's see here. It looks like the cover comes off with probably the feet, it looks like. So, I think I'll take that off and reveal the little bit of wiring underneath and just make certain there's nothing shockingly bad going on underneath there. Okay, so that's not necessarily the way it goes. It looks like the feet do not necessarily mount this guy. So I'm going to put it back on and see if I can figure out what's got going on here. It looks like the nut is kind of held rotating against a frame. Remember? Oh, okay, so I think I see now. There is actually, in order to get at the screws that cover this plate, I have to take the feet off because there's a screw that looks like on the corners of these nice big feet. I wish the feet themselves are pretty good shape. Obviously, they mummified a bit, but otherwise they're not too bad. But there is a nut that it's not tapped on the other side, so I do have to be aware that this nut will want to rotate after a point. Okay, off that comes. Considering how many decades old this guy is, it's not nearly as frightful as what I've seen in recent history with the other machines. Okay, so got a little piece of phenolic that is captured by the screws that hold the plate on. They have two holes. They are identical to each other, and they're to the left. Why they are in that direction, I don't know, because they don't look like they're access points to anything, so I don't really see why. they're oriented that way, but they are. Say this wire looks a little like it might have gone hot one time. It might be, I don't know why. It goes to that shell of that guy. And with the exception of the red wire, red wire going to black, I guess, with the red electrical tape, I don't see anything else particularly alarming. The resistor certainly looks like it's gotten hot in the past, but you know, it's a high wattage resistor. The wire is kind of stiff, but it's electrically, it looks to be pretty good. I guess I'll do a continuity check just to make certain that it's not shorted to ground or anything. And what I might do is try and hand rotate this guy around and see if I can lubricate him and you know, get him freed up before I try and use the motor. This, once again, this hand crank knob anyways can go in there, and in theory I can turn this guy. It wants to move some, then it wants to kind of bind up after a certain point. I was kind of playing with it before I took the case off. Not as far as it wants to go for some reason. Okay, it stops. Looks like it's because the one of the planetary clutch arms is down. Okay, so it was probably in the middle of a cycle, hasn't cleared. Let's see if I can clear that. Okay, now it wants to go. Okay. I don't know if I'm even turning it in the right direction or not. So it kind of acts like it's still on a cycle, I think. It doesn't want to move very freely. But it's normal. Just kind of gauging on the other machines, I would say that that would not be normal. Well, it seems happier now. Well, maybe I cleared that out. Looks like the switch is. The switch still looks to be closed. I think I recognize this guy. He's kind of critical, and I've got him more centered. Moment. Maybe he will neutral all these things now. Can't say if that's normal. It just seems like that would require more force than how to, but maybe that's all I need. Because I should just see if the planetary will even move now. Really? The motor is really stiff. Completely too stiff. Wow, that is very, very stiff. Oh wow, that's a very stiff motor. Well, this might not be such an easy little fix. I was hoping I could just plug it in and go, wee, it runs, but this is definitely, I bothered to actually look at the motor. That is hard turning. Very, very hard turning. So there's no way I'm going to apply power to this guy. And in fact, somebody may have tried that, and it may have stressed things out just looking at this. Like the things got hotter than it really ought to. And then this ought to be in that slot there. It's plainly not sitting where you can plainly see that they intended it to be sitting over there and it's sitting over here. So the wire's a little on the short side. It's a short around electrical stuff, right? So I think it's going to require a bit of off-camera butts around lubrication, I think. To figure out where the oiling holes are for this motor. Just see if it, a little bit of oil might make it happier. It is plainly very stiff right now, so it's completely not going to fly. So I guess I'll do some putts and then I'll come back sometime when I have something more to show. Okay, so I've gotten as far as I've got out to the garage and blew it off, got most of the dust off, and so life is a little nicer. It doesn't feel quite so nasty. And been putting a lot of common motor oil WD, or not WD, 10W30 motor oil. There's two little oiling cups that are, there's one hidden down there and one hidden down there. Of course you can't really see. Looks like there's little pieces of felt that are stuffed into some little oiling passages. And at first I could barely move this governor. And right now it's a bit stiff, but I've gotten it so I can rotate it all the way around. So I'm hoping, I've done quite a few applications of oil and dropped oil and dropped oil and dropped oil in there. And it's got to the point where it's still pretty stiffer than I'd like, but I'd like to do is apply motor power for just a moment and see if we get anywheres with it. I've put a few drops on the planetary, and that's all the lubrication I've done so far. I've checked electrically to make certain that this isn't shorted to ground, and until you get till the crazy mega ohm range, you don't see anything. So and even that kind of cleared out. So it might be one side of the capacitor might have a slight little leak to ground. Even that is very, very high impedance resistance, so I'm going to hope that it's good. And otherwise it looks like it's open otherwise until you close the switch over here, and I kind of clean the contacts of the switch a little bit with just some paper. So I should be able to go in very carefully, push up on the switch here, and hopefully get the motor to run for just tiny little moments. And I'll have it on a fused circuit breaker protector here, just in case. And what I'll do is I'll use the cord that originally came with the CST-8 that wasn't obviously its original either. It was probably from I don't know what. Almost looks like something you would have seen in the back of a radio, I think. And of course it's not polarized, and I guess the stuff back then wasn't either, so I guess it doesn't really matter, does it? I guess I'll look at that old plug and make sure there is no such thing. Back then there wasn't much in the way of polarization around, so I'll look at it real quick, but I'm pretty sure that we're good there. It's always scary to plug something in that's, at least in this case I know it had some activity in 1965 according to that sale or service tag that was on the back, but obviously it hasn't been touched in recent decades. Looks like the original plug has no polarization either, so it's about as good as I can hope to get here. And I think electrically I'm about as safe as I can hope to get. And I think we're in the off position right now on the switch. Okay, I'll turn it on. Power's on. Ooh, I do not want to run any further. Okay. Alright, so not more of that. We will already see a little smoke from it, so that's not good. We won't do any more of that. So obviously we need far greater travel than that for a little while, so we're not going to do that again. I'm really alarmed how much that smoked by. I would have thought that even that little, it wouldn't have been that bad, but I guess what I'll do is I'll keep applying oil and spinning this guy until it frees up a bit more. Hopefully the motor itself isn't like damaged, because the immediate thought, of course, is that somebody tried to do kind of what I did, only even worse, with no attention to lubrication or freeing it up, and just simply stuck it on. That's kind of the question mark about this wire over here, whether or not that was just service work. What's interesting is it's spinning more readily as I turn this guy, so I don't know, maybe that internal heating might have helped loosen a little bit of oil and gunk in there. So I'll just keep running this guy and continue adding more oil, and maybe it'll free up more. Okay, so I've been lubricating and working on this guy for quite a while. I finally got to the point where I don't need two fingers to turn it. I tried spinning it one time and it smoked a little bit, and I tried spinning it another time when it would seem like it would feed up enough where I was hoping the motor could spin itself, and it's tried rotating a little bit, and it got maybe 10, 20, 30 degrees, and it was starting to smoke again a tiniest little bit, so I thought better to quit. But it was still like it took two fingers and quite a bit of finger force to get it to move. Now it's getting to the point where I can move it with one finger, and so I'm pretty confident if this motor has any capacity to run, it should be able to spin. So I think I'll give it a try again. Big thing is to do it in very, very short little increments, and preferably get it really freed up. I mean, this has been, I've been probably going at this for a half hour to an hour of just drop of oil, spin it one way, drop of oil, spin it the other way, and just keep moving this thing, freeing up more and more and getting more oil in there. And the oil would disappear into that little oil well with a wick, and I'd put in a drop in there. A little bit has run over, but for the most part I think it's getting closer to the point where I think I can dare try applying power. Okay, kind of unnerving to power this thing for the first time. I'm going to lift up on this switch. Hey! I hear the sparking of probably the governor, which is kind of typical. Seems like it's speeding up a bit there. I think we're up to speed. Seems like it might go a little faster than that, but hey, it's running! First time in decades. That doesn't sound too bad now. Sounds like it's dragging on something though. Probably shouldn't run it for too terribly long, because these motors don't have much of a cooling system on them, and it's obviously meant for very intermittent duty. But hey, so I got something there. So I guess I'll look at the aftermath of that, make certain I don't see anything melting. Everything's unplugged here. Big thing is make certain everything's unplugged before you touch anything again. It could hurt. Okay, so flush with a little bit of confidence that the motor will spin, I'm going to try and oil everybody up a bit with more of my favorite oil, clock oil for the all light stuff. I used old WD, I keep wanting to say WD-30, obviously that's what I have in my mind not to use. 10W 30 motor oil just for the motor, because that's a motor, right? And for the planetary I've put in a few drops of oil, but for the really fine stuff it takes very little force and takes takes a little bit of force to move it, and it slides, and it's got to work a bunch of times. I'm going to use the old clock oil because it seems to be the most recommended thing to use for this thing. It makes the most sense, so I'll start oiling this guy, and I will see if I can get this guy to work happily. We'll spin it for a few seconds and see what we can get. Okay, so we know this guy had last been serviced or sold or something like that in 1965. These fellows probably dropped out of favor pretty much quickly, like nearly a hot potato when electronic calculators came along. So the reality is this guy probably hasn't been running since, I don't know, mid-70s, early 80s max. Would have been a very late adopter to electronic calculators at that point. So, I have the carriage back on. Let's see here, will it add something? Oh, I guess I have to apply that safety power there. Okay, we got that on there. So we're going to clear this guy. Clear that guy. For some reason, it's a little bit difficult to clear this guy for some reason. Try that again. Okay, so I'm going to put in, for some reason that's put in a 2. I want to clear up there for some reason. Not everyone wants to come up. But, you know, considering it's only been given a little bit of love for a very short time, there it cleared. Okay, so I don't know why it cleared that time. Let's try a repeat. Okay, I'll go with 159. And that held that in there too long. Alright, 159, I just went backwards and it held it. So I didn't hold it down. I held it down too long, I should say. So now I want to multiply 147. Okay, so I'm going to put in my 7. Pretty fast. I flip it over 1, put in my 4, and put in my course by 1, and I come up with 23373. Hey, that's pretty good. They both agree, and this guy has been asleep for probably quite a few decades. Not too bad, huh? Let's go and see if I can clear this first. Clearing that first seems to help. Okay, so I'm going to try everybody's favorite thing here. Now, I was under the impression that this had a bell. So, I thought there was a bell over here. And you look at the manual, it says the bell has been omitted for, you know, clarity to see more of the mechanism. I see no bell in this guy. He gets the Nobel Prize. So my suspicion is that there's a screw point here where that bell might have been, if indeed it had a bell, and has been removed. I see no striker mechanism for a bell. It seems like a good idea to have a bell on this guy, so I will have to be more attentive doing my division sample here, which is going to be, once again, our favorite number that everyone loves. 5, 5. put that in. Then I clear that guy out, because once again my answer is actually going to be up here. I gotta clear that out, and I gotta put in 1, 1, 3. So I'm going to subtract. Let's see here. That overflowed. Back over 1. Already I can see that number's wrong. The value's wrong, so what am I doing wrong here? Well, that can't be right. I've already overflowed. To work on this one. Well, in subtraction, it looks like the first digit sometimes does not get counted correctly in this guy. I've got to figure that out. So I got like 9 9s in here, and if I subtract, it happened to work this time. Not every time. So I guess a little thing to work on. Definitely seems to prefer this direction more than it does backwards turning. I don't know if that might have something to do with it. They're at 9 9s. There's 0 again. And of course now it wants to do it on the screen. Well, I could try it one more time here, but it seems to not be too happy with that. We'll try it again. The other thing is, of course, I wasn't clearing that out, so clear that out. That time it worked. Well, no, it still didn't because I'm overflowing. I shouldn't be overflowing at this point. That's obviously not correct. Okay, now that's correct. Let's go see if we can do this guy now. Fortunately, without that bell, I really have to actually pay attention. Or actually, more accurately, I know what it's supposed to come up with. So that's the whole problem with which of these digits am I really supposed to be looking at? Is it 18 or 180? It throws me off a bit. I know it happens to be that, but and I think it's 67 because I'm at 3 digits. So I guess okay. So if I'm here, it's 67 at 670. That's the whole thing. Learning how to read these things, you really have to kind of pay attention what is what there. Okay, so over one more. Obviously I don't have the finesse to hold it down and not overshoot, especially without my crutch the bell. I'll have to figure out what's wrong with this guy missing his bell, what I can do about it. Assuming it had a bell, I'm absolutely certain it did. So with a lot of cheating, and I know the remainder is always 33 because I've played this game quite a few times now. So we take pi 355 divided by 133, and you wind up with 1.14159. So it's a little fussy up here at the moment, but you know, considering that's obviously manual division. Oh, this guy has automatic division. Well, the question is, do I dare actually give that a try? Because I know in the CST8, which I talked too much about, I guess, I know that one does not work, and I still have to figure it out. I think what I'll probably got to do on that guy is figure out divide stop first before I get any further, because I'm not getting anywheres on it. Because as soon as I try to divide stop, it never stops. I can't get any further than that. Hopefully this guy, maybe it'll just work. So 355. Add that in. That's in. Presumably I still have to clear that. And then I put in 113. And I think I'm being wildly optimistic that this will actually work, but we'll give it a try. Whoa! Whoa! That did a lot more than I would ever have guessed. That is amazing. And it worked. Well, it's wrong here, but overall it worked. That's amazing. I gotta figure out what's going on with the counter register here. But it actually freaking worked, which is more than the CST8 can do at the moment. That is really nice. So this was kind of a little fun afternoon with a little $20 machine that had been ignored. Obviously not particularly valued. Everything else at this antique store was, you know, priced kind of on the high side as far as I was concerned for anything. You know, it's amazing what typewriters go for and so forth and so on. And other stuff. But these two mechanical calculators, they didn't love or value them, and it still seems to be largely the case with mechanical calculators. I don't think they're particularly recognized as an interesting thing. Maybe they are on eBay, I don't know. I've looked at them there and they seem to be a lot, but I think anything on eBay is a lot. They're out trying to make some money. And it doesn't cost them to just advertise, whereas, you know, if you get something local via Craigslist, or maybe you might luck out at an antique shop, you know, you might luck out. So I think at this point I will investigate this some more, clean it up, put the covers back on a little bit further. Maybe I'll do another video on this guy, but I got to figure out the bell situation. I guess what I'll do is I'll open up the other machine and see what it's about, see if there's a bell, and maybe do a video on it. I'm hoping it will be almost as easy as this one. I know it'll be more difficult. The keyboard's got troubles, there's missing buttons and so forth. This one it actually works, other than it's not quite there yet, but you know, for a few hours work and $20 and everything, wow, that's kind of nice. It was a fun little afternoon project. So there you go. There's another calculator up and running from the Ed of Ed. And thanks for watching.